because he already has 15 points from the previous week. Combine that with, well, you get a chance to play for the direct seed into the finals. One person out of the remaining 4 here will be going straight to California on February 21st, 22nd for our off-season 20K LAN, or our offline, excuse me.
To join Darquanix, who was the Week 5 winner and the first player to qualify. And of course, we will be seeing all 4 players that made it to the semifinal, or sorry, the 3 other players besides the winner who made it into the semifinals next week for week number 7. Both these players can be happy of where they've got, but at the same time, so much still on the line to make it even further.
Well, lots of cool stuff already developing. We do have a pretty early game start for Paladin. He'll be able to curve out pretty nicely. Not necessarily in the terms of the mana 2, 3, 4, but the idea that you have something to play every turn other than hero powering.
Blade Flurry, I think, is a really fantastic draw in this matchup. Just because a lot of times it can help you deal with and some of that early push that I talked about that this New Age Paladins usually bring. Fan of Knives also is a really great card.
Fan of Knives is so important in this matchup specifically, just because Muster for Battle can overwhelm you very quickly, especially if you allow it to live past 2 turns for Quartermaster. So I am very much in favor of, like, if you have Fan of Knives, keep it against Paladin.
Yeah. And in a lot of matchups, Fan of Knives from this rogue deck is like a cycle card. But against some classes, especially Paladin, really need to hold on to that.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, now Zalae's in an awkward spot because, like, this Knife Juggler is going to get taken out very easily, and then he's going to effectively lose his board for virtually nothing. Just a little bit of damage, especially now that this Violet Teacher gets out and it contests. Violet Teacher is just so strong, especially if your opponent doesn't have a strong board.
Yep.
Your opponent has to have Choose over Champion, or else this Violet Teacher might run away with the game. It's going to start keeping up so well with the 1/1s and control the pace of the state of the board for turns to come.
Black Knight in Paladin, so...
Not useful in this matchup.
No, well, I mean, in a way it is for Sledge Belchers.
Oh, that's true, you're right.
But...
Forgot about Sledge Belcher.
I guess not necessarily as useful as it would be in other matchups, but still Black Knight on a Sledge Belcher is pretty decent. But yeah, these Violet Teachers are going to start to become very problematic. Leaving down the board like that without even denting it, especially this early on, can just let the rogue sort of run away. He does have Consecration, so he's not too worried because he can deal with the tokens.
Yeah, but
so
I mean,
risky.
this spell-powered Shiv still is really annoying considering the context of it. It still creates another token, it draws another card. Pretty high impact.
Yep.
Oh man, that is probably the worst outcome, sort of like... I mean, is there anything worse than a 1/1?
Is that a troll question?
No, like, is there a zero attack minion that I'm missing right now? I guess Lore Walker Cho?
Nat Pagel.
No, I mean, that Pagel at least still draws you a card, potentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, Lore Walker Cho would stink, I guess. Oh, I guess it's okay, too.
None of these zero attack creatures really have as big of a drawback as, like, a Battle Cry 1/1.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. Well, Sludge Belcher is also rather problematic just because of its stat distribution.
Yeah.
How do you effectively dissect this?
I mean, you could Earthen Ring Farseer your Violet Teacher to keep it alive to the Sludge Belcher, and then, or just try and cycle first with the Blood Mage, but that
that's definitely a possibility.
It doesn't feel great because you're not utilizing the spell power, but Fan of Knives is okay here because you have the second Fan of Knives available for like a muster battle or something along those lines, so this is still pretty effective.
The nice thing is that he's getting a really large card advantage, and if Zalae feels inclined to Consecrate next turn, that's taking up his entire turn, and he already has a weapon out. So he can take complete initiative on the board, just like tossing out Sludge Belcher or Gallywix. And then Paladin's going to be an awkward spot.
This line of play plays around Consecrate pretty well too, because that Violet Teacher's already got a lot of mileage out of that thing.
Right.
And
I think 4 1/1s have been created.
yeah, which that damage really adds up over time, and it creates that huge card advantage. Sabotage is such a cool card.
The animation is surprisingly like beautiful. Like it's like one of those things where the atmosphere and the clouds and then the slice across the neck.
I've never actually had an interaction with Sabotage and Tyrion, but I'd imagine Ashbringer would survive.
Oh. Oh, I think so. No, I think Ashbringer dies.
Really?
It says destroy any minion, random any minion, then destroy your opponent destroy your opponent's weapon. So I feel like that if that happens in sequence, Lightbringer or Ashbringer actually.
So Sabotage is the ultimate counter to Tyrion if that's the case.
If you can combo it.
If you can combo it, which is pretty easy. It's 4 mana. Come on.
Yeah, it's not terribly difficult. You're right. Second Sludge Belcher going to get taken down here. Once again. And look at that. That 1/1 token coming in pretty clutch once more.
Yes.
It's just a little bit of extra damage. You can see it as a delayed Knife Juggler in a way if it's allowed to proc. That's why Violet Teachers are just such a big threat.
This deck is beautiful. I just want to say. This Rogue deck is one of my favorite decks in the game. Right now.
I mean, we both were playing it right before the broadcast. You're playing this one exactly?
Oh, pretty much exactly, but
No
with no
Gallywix?
trade Prince Gallywix.
Do you have Trade Prince Gallywix?
No.
Do you have a golden Trade Prince Gallywix?
No, Frodan.
You're doing it wrong, man.
But I do have a golden Deathwing.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah. Okay, well, this is a really just awkward turn.
Yep.
Consecrate it doesn't accomplish really anything. You take out the Violet Teacher, which is great. Because that Violet Teacher has already just destroyed you thus far this game. Doesn't really have another choice.
Well, the alternative is to just hero power, but this is where the card advantage just starts getting ridiculous. Let's see, what's the best way to go about this? I think maybe just dropping Sludge Belcher.
Sludge Belcher.
Taking it slow. I don't think... I mean, I guess you could get away with...
Trade Prince.
Yeah, dropping a minion like the Trade Prince. But you're just so far ahead and you've leveraged the board so often. I mean... Trade Prince is also stronger than Sludge Belcher, just in so many ways. The stats prevents your opponent from doing anything. It's just that...
So many options.
I suppose I'm making that judgment based off of the Alder Peacekeeper that's in the opponent's hand. And of course, Galax would just be a 1/8. And it's like, eh.
It's such a problematic card to deal with.
Right. I mean, Hype doesn't have any way of knowing that. He's already seen an Alder Peacekeeper, so he feels like this Galax would be pretty effective.
You wanted to hear what it said, but you were talking over it this time. I tried to listen for you, but I couldn't make it out. Couldn't make it out. Sorry, I apologize. What does it say? That's one piece of knowledge that our admin doesn't know and can't whisper into my ear. What Trade Prince Gallywix says when he's summoned.
Oh, man.
Oh, well.
I guess we're about to find out if this happens, by the way. Oh,
yeah, that's
he's
a
got
perfect
Violet
card to do it
Teacher.
with.
Violet Teacher plus Sabotage. I'm pretty sure it works like it destroys Ashbringer, and Zalae is about to get wrecked with a capital R.
Destroy a random
EKT,
minion
all
and your
spaced
opponent's
out.
weapon. I don't think it does. Because it's destroy the minion and destroy the
I
weapon.
think Hyped is also wondering too.
Not destroy the minion, then destroy the weapon. It's and instead of then.
Is there any better way to try it out than now, though?
No. Well, actually, yes. Because
you need to kill that minion anyways. There's no way to like silence it.
you can kill it off without using Sabotage, and then use Sabotage to get rid of the weapon.
You're right.
Or you can just be bold and say, you know what?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
For science!
This is one of the things where you have to actually have played this deck a lot to know. But I'm pretty sure if you Sabotage, you kill the Ashbringer too.
I've played probably like 50 games of this deck.
Do it!
And
Hyped,
I've
you're running out
never-
of time.
Nope.
Okay, he does it.
Okay. Well, judging by that play, I would think that it doesn't destroy. Because I'd imagine, out of all players, Hyped would know.
It does feel like that, right? Because Hyped is one of the more... Like, he's played so many games.
But he did rope. So
He did think about it.
you would think that play would be pretty... Not easy,
Automatic.
but maybe a little bit faster than roping, if he did know. Because I don't know.
I'm going to have to try that out. But
Yeah. Or we'll experiment.
if he did, then he just wasted a lot of health on his Gallywix. I don't think there's much to think about. You have to get rid of that Gallywix as soon as possible. The problem is, Hyped has so many more cards where that came from as soon as he just sprints.
And where does that deck like top out at? Like is
This deck?
this Paladin deck?
Usually Tyrion is the latest card you have. I haven't seen a Paladin deck run anything higher like Ysera in a long time.
And it was removed relatively efficiently, I'd say.
Gallywix?
No, Tyrion.
Well, it took a card and a half, so. So now he has ways to make the True Silver Champion even more inefficient if you just SI7 agent down this 1-1 and play Sludge Belcher. Or you can just weapon up and save it too. Either way, Hyped has to find a way to start counter pressuring because he's got so many good minions here in his hand, high quality. Just has to figure out how to piece it together to start pushing against Zalae, who's honestly just been sitting duck.
He's got to be pretty happy about, not necessarily happy, but relieved to see that there's actually taunt in this deck for him to make use of the Black Knight. And Harrison Jones as well, that could play
That's good.
a
Card
big part in this matchup as well.
Now, Black Knight coming down on this Sludge Belcher is going to be a surprise, but at the same time, it doesn't like swing it completely back yet.
Yeah, you would still have to get through that slime to be able to get through the SI agent, which would force him to make the decision of just holding on to his True Silver Champion or wasting a lot of that potential damage on just a slime. Because then the slime would challenge into hero power, but I mean it's still an automatic play, I think, here. And do you hold? Is the big question.
I feel like that 1-2 slime is like especially if you're playing a hero power now, you should take out that slime so that way it's not inefficient with how you deal with it. Because then you lose the token essentially for free. So I think you should kill it off if you plan on hero power. Because now you need to start fighting for card advantage again, or like some relevance.
Oh,
That's the perfect draw right now.
yeah. Double sap.
Remember, this is a deck that's oriented around killing Handlock. He's got 2 saps, he's got Sabotage, he even has a big game hunter in here.
Yeah.
And he's about to kill the Paladin too. In fact, I think Hype's Rogue, assuming it goes on to win this game. Oh, True Silver Champ is a really good draw.
It could be a decent choice to run in just about any scenario if we go to blind pick.
Well, it struggles against Warrior, I think.
That's true.
Or maybe it struggles against some really aggressive decks too, like Hunter.
I think Warrior is it's pretty problematic. Sabotage makes it a little better, but not really, because Sabotage can be hard to use.
It might struggle against like the decks that require you to use your weapon to attack your like the Leopard Gnomes and stuff. Although I feel like it's decent against Zoo with some of the preps that you can squeeze in.
Mm-hmm.
Zalae taking his time, thinking about it. Just his playstyle, it's how he does things. But True Silver Champion is definitely one of the best cards to draw, and I think tossing out Harrison to draw is also appropriate. But I think he's playing greedy and he wants to catch a 2-charge weapon here.
Yeah, he hasn't, or even just be more like impactful with the Harrison Jones. And
Yikes.
take out a deadly poison weapon.
Oh, it's got to be ragtime, right?
I believe it should be.
Do you need to? You also have an opportunity to sprint relatively unharmed. It is 7 damage on board. But I think Ragnaros is just much better.
Yeah, but there's so many other opportunities where you can use sprint as like a more efficient tool, like with preps. Like Violet Teacher prep sprint.
Alright, snipes the 3-3. That's pretty much what Hyped wanted. Oh,
Yikes.
I don't think that's what he wanted.
Well, Harrison
Muster for
Jones,
battle to decrease all the odds of Rag hitting. Oh, there's Blade Flurry though on the other end.
Yeah.
So in the end, it won't matter.
Yeah, I think you got a Harrison Jones here just to try and draw into an answer.
Quartermaster. Well, it looks like he won't be able to kill Ragnaros this turn. But he can definitely make it a little bit harder for Ragnaros to hit an ideal target.
And then if those 1/1s do live, then Quartermaster would be pretty good. And he's also got Coltmaster as well as a draw engine to combo with those Muster for battles, but he has to expect that.
Hyped has used both of his Fan of Knives too. Blade Flurry is his last AoE. Unless he's running 2 of them, which is not very common in the deck.
Oh no.
So the Quartermaster with Muster for Battle could be pretty devastating because Rogue's not at much health. A face attack!
Whoa.
Whoa! Is he going to Muster for Battle now? That is greed. But you know what? He wants to set up as many rag targets as possible too.
And sets up for a Quartermaster at lethal if there's no AoE. Or close to.
Right.
Puts on the pressure.
So Blade Flurry most certainly will be coming down here, and I think the Violet Teachers can allow him to match the 1/1s. So from here, seems like Zalae will have to find a way to piece together damage. Oh, even sapping Harrison Jones so he can put on pressure.
Wow.
Another 1/1. It's good. So that
Yeah.
way the 8 damage goes to the face and puts him on a potential kill next turn. I like it. No reason to have 2 of them in hand.
Yeah. Very bold play. Doesn't.
Oh man, if it paid off though, look at what would have happened.
That would have been. Zalae knows it. He's thinking.
Well,
Imagine the possibilities.
I think he's imagining how dead he is at this point. I don't think he can do anything.
I don't think he
This
has,
rogue deck is undefeated still.
I don't think he even has to imagine that. It's reality. He's dead. He's as good as dead.
There's nothing he can do. There's no cards he can draw. There's he can do his best to try and load up the board, but I don't know if he can even stop a guaranteed shot. I guess it depends on whether or not Hyped wants to show some cards, like a second sap. But it should be fine.
He could set up a... well, Prep Sprint is just so powerful right now. Oh, that's...
Prep Sprint. I mean, he's just having fun here.
Well, that was like if he didn't want to show second sap. That was if under the condition that he didn't want to show second sap.
Right, right.
Because
So
that's
he
actually
just showed him a
deal.
second sap.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up game number 1, and once again, this really cool control rogue. I don't think so.
Or he just tweets from a computer. That would be more likely.
That could be the case too.
But I like to think.
I don't think.
I like to think to fit his image of being the
you know a
nonchalant
surprising a lot about the Twitter metagame.
It's just funny because I don't even tweet that much. I should tweet more. That's my 2015
Is that your 2015 resolution?
Yeah. To feel?
Not to like drink more water or exercise. It's
No.
To feel.
to feel and to tweet more.
Alright.
And I guess feeling and tweeting more go hand in hand.
Sure, sure. Well, this match is finally underway. Thanks for everybody who's bearing with us. There is a Innervate in hand, and that can help fix the curve, especially considering that there's a Spectre Knight, which is hard for Mage to deal with. But that's under normal circumstances, if Hype just puts out the Mad Scientist and coins out the Water Elemental, which almost seems high likelihood, Zalae still has to run into the big problem of how to deal with the minions efficiently.
Indeed. This is a tough choice. Whether or not to innervate out a Spectral Knight or to just throw out a Shade. On one hand, you want to get the Shades out as quick as possible. On the second hand, having the Spectral Knight out is a really big threat to a mage who has trouble removing it. Has its merits as well. This is going to mess up his curve for next turn, but putting that threat on the board is a hard thing to pass up.
Yeah, it might mess up the curve. It might not too at the same time. You can't be too definite. And of course, Hyped has to be considerate of what secret he might get to, and that might affect the way he plays this turn. If he gets a duplicate, does he want the Water Elementals? Maybe he wants the Sludge Belchers. I'm not sure. But either way, he only has access to 4 mana at most this turn.
So how much would it actually change his play?
So if he gets Ice Block instead, I think you coin out the Water Elemental. If you get duplicate, I guess
You hold?
I guess you can make a case for just hero power passing, right?
You can make a case for it, but I think it's maybe playing a little bit too slowly and being too greedy on getting duplicates on Sludge Belcher. I think he realizes that he will most likely Water Elemental regardless.
Yeah.
So just not even getting the secret is the choice that he makes.
Well, it's just that it's all about lining out what target you want for the duplicate. Because Water Elemental is great, but Sludge Belcher is so effective against Druid because it stops a lot of their threats. It answers most of whatever minions they have. And overall, it's just a very strong minion to have. So, unfortunately, Hype doesn't have anything else to do that turn short of Big Game Hunter, and that's just way too inferior.
And I like this choice just to go face here. Water Elemental's not really an option. You don't want to give him the opportunity to you don't want to throw that Spectral Knight into Mad Scientist. You're wasting that power, and putting the mage on a clock is, I think, a big deal. Putting a lot of pressure on.
What to do?
Especially with double Savage Roar in hand.
Yeah, Spectral Knight is very problematic. Double Savage Roar is so scary. I mean, even if he just double Savage Roar next turn, how much is that? That's 7 plus 12 is 19 damage already.
Wow. Oh, and double Wrath here.
Yeah, it does stifle his development though, and Harrison Jones is the strongest in off matchups that doesn't have weapon classes on curve.
And if he double Wrath here to try and like clean out the board, he's got 3 cards in his hand, 2 being Savage Roar.
What is nice though is that it's still very hard for his opponent to deal with Spectral Knight.
Indeed.
But he's spending so many of the cards. He's essentially like all in on what this is. Like he's intending on trying to end what his opponent's doing just solely based off these 2 cards and whatever he's top decking.
Now at this stage, are you going to throw in the Mad Scientist?
I'm tempted. I'm very tempted to. It's hard because what if he has like another secret that's not it, and then you just gave up the Mad Scientist?
Yeah. I think it's good, but only because Ice Block is in his hand. I think if Ice Block wasn't in his hand, he wouldn't have gone for that play.
Because it's less likely Ice Block would.
Because it's less likely that Ice Block would be that secret. And is that what secret is that? Can we look?
We'll find out in a second.
Eventually.
This Lotheb is actually very important too. It's something that Zalae has to keep tucked in and timed very effectively. because Mage is very dependent on having these spells earn them important tempo, whether it's Flame Strike, Frost Nova, or even like other things like a Frostbolt.
Yeah. They need it on time. And
Yes.
even delaying it by one turn is can be pretty devastating. Especially as a druid. It seems like that one turn as a druid is like all they need to just completely break open a game.
Something also in the back of Zalae's mind is probably like he knows Hype has Flame Strikes too. Like this, how long of a clock does he have until his, you know, he might just have his board swept and he's going to be in big trouble.
Okay, that is
duplicate for sure.
yeah.
Okay, so does he just simply stall with a Frost Nova until Flame Strike?
Frost Nova, develop Ice Block.
He still doesn't kill off that Shade of Naxxramas. Also, with Alexstrasza in hand, damage to the face also feels slightly moot. Just because you might be using it offensively. Rarely is the case where you can use it defensively and
Yeah.
like and still survive against Druid, unless your opponent you have a completely clear board.
But otherwise, you'd be
Right.
using the Fireball, which is burden that you could have for,
Right.
for later on in the game, on a Harrison Jones, who's going to be a casualty of a Flame Strike regardless. So
Yeah. Well, this is where Lotheb, it's like you feel like you might have to Lotheb, but the timing of it's key. Now, interestingly enough, when you play Lotheb, Hype doesn't have a play next turn. He can't afford to play anything. Everything, the lowest cost card will be 8 at least. Maybe Hype can pick up something else that would be cheaper. At the same time, every other card is going to waste here. So Zalae has to make a very tough decision here, whether or not he drops Lotheb. Because if not, then it becomes completely wasted at that point. All of his spells costing an extra 5 there's no point.
yeah. You know what? It happened to me again. Exact same thing that happened yesterday. I thought Hyped was actually on a webcam.
Gotcha.
That's a still photo.
It is a still photo. I think that's just because we wanted to make sure that we could get Hyped in for the broadcast on time.
Why do they keep doing this to me, Dan? I just thought Hype was being very still and stoic.
Well, guess he can't play anything now. He
Yeah.
will have to hero power.
Oh, that Spectral Knight at 1 health is just so annoying to deal with because he has to throw in the Sunfear Protector.
Right.
And, I mean, at this point, Flame Strike's just 100% telegraphed, but at the same time, he wants to try and salvage what more of that Sludge Belcher that he can. Does still have duplicates, so that's...
Oh,
really-
wow. How much damage does he have right now? 2 Savage Roars? So... The problem is the Sludge Belcher has 2 lives, so it does stall a lot of damage. The most I see he can do is...
19.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
11 plus...
Yeah, 19.
Yeah, 19. Jeez, that's crazy. Such a crazy amount of damage. So it's a Shade of Naxxramas. Do you use 1 Savage Roar?
I don't know how effective would 1 Savage Roar be, though.
Just to get in the damage as soon as you can.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I was thinking that Sludge Belcher would be even more problematic with just one just one Savage Roar, but it actually makes sense because you could use your hero power from this, or your own face from the Savage Roar to kill off the slime.
I'm actually okay with this. If
And
he
put
just
on-
drops Shade of Naxxramas and then Savage Roars.
Be 15 damage. That's a lot.
It's 16, 18 damage. But the Molten Giants are going to be free. Right?
Oh no, I meant 15 damage to his
Oh, sorry, to
face.
his face. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
saying 18 damage total, but...
Yeah.
Well, now it's it's a free Molten Giant. And then...
Sludge Belcher, Ice Block.
Yeah, you do want a hero power down.
Well, you really want a Flame Strike, and that's where that Lotheb comes in. That was a huge deal.
What to do?
Yeah.
Because this game would be completely different had Flameshake been able to come out on that turn. And no matter what was in that slot there, I mean, I guess that would have been 7 mana. An Ancient of Lore could have been a little problematic because he wouldn't have been able to hero power it down.
Yeah,
But
I'm guessing you do have to go for the ice block play. Unfortunately, even though Harrison Jones seems like he's easy to pick off, this is like the best course of action. Because if you do anything else, you might just die, and you're aware of that because you have 10 damage in Sludge Belchers alone. Oh no!
I wonder.
Alright, well, clearly there seems to be some problem with Skype, making sure that we get everything sorted out, as looks like there was definitely some technical issues. From that point on, it's like I said, the Druid pressures the Mage so well that it's really difficult to try and secure any kind of reasonable board presence.
you can't do multiple things at a time. You can't like clear the board and put a presence.
Yeah. Well, the game's over right now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Looks like Hyped was, well, with this big game Hunter, didn't look like he was going to be able to do much either way, but looks like game 2 will go to Zalae, and now we go into Handlock versus Zoo.
Okay. Well, Hyped, of course, we saw him earlier. He's going to be on that Zoo. Zalae on the Handlock, so this matchup is a little bit volatile.
Big Owl has better facial hair than you do. I'm sorry to say.
Actually, I'll agree with that. I wish I had that facial hair.
Well, Molten Giant in hand is already bad news for Hyped. And the fact that Zalae also has an Ancient Heal bot is also pretty disastrous if Hyped can't get some kind of momentum going.
Mountain Giant's not the best. A lot of times, as a Handlock player in this matchup, you don't have time to play the Mountain Giant safely. But we have seen it before, and he's getting deeper in his deck.
Yeah, for sure. And there's still a lot of damage that you can stack up. Maybe the Giants don't even matter because you have so many creatures on board. And of course, Implosion plus Seed Giant is also equals win. So you have the ability to also have hard-hitting creatures too on your end. Well, if I'm Zalae, I'm very tempted to Ironbeak Owl here because most likely you want to coin out the Drake anyways. And you need to stop this Knife Juggler from doing too much.
Yeah, it just poses too much of a threat. It represents way too much damage on the board. Potential damage on the board.
And then this is where Voidwalker is pretty problematic. It's one of those questions of, am I playing against Hellfire or am I playing against a 4-drop? Because if he coins out Twilight Drake, you'll have more minions for the pushing. But if you have Hellfire, you need to drop the Nerubian Egg instead.
I think you go with the Nerubian Egg. Because you're playing around Hellfire, but you're not really losing much by not playing the egg, it feels. The trade-off is just not there. There's little risk going with this play, as opposed to the reward trade-off that you get for not playing the egg. Well, Siphon Soul, I don't like that card in this matchup either.
It sometimes is useful, especially against the Doom Guards.
Yeah.
And especially against Seed Giant if you have the opportunity to.
But when you get to that point in the game where you're having to spend 6 mana just remove 1 creature, sometimes just being able to heal 3 health and take 1 creature off the board is just not enough to push you over the edge.
So many possibilities.
Push you over the edge.
Yeah, I think the Twilight Drake here is by far the strongest play.
Double.
2 Abusive Sergeants. He can empty his hand as well.
Wow.
So you kill off the Drake and essentially just continue to push here. Oh, tap. Okay.
It's a very symmetric hand. I like to see it.
Pretty confident that his opponent won't have Shadow Flame. Also, he's at a comfortable health, and I like keeping the Abusive Sergeants actually to burst and kill your opponent. He's got 3, 6, 8 damage.
And in a way, you can't really afford to play around Shadow
Right.
Flame at a certain point. His Nerubian Egg being on the board is his way of playing around Shadow Flame.
I suppose so. You're right.
I mean, tapping there and not flooding the board is sort of a way to play around AoE. But like you said, the Abusive Sergeants are probably being kept for the burst potential.
Oh, that's a terrible card for Zalae to draw right now.
Pretty much useless. He gets deeper in his deck, but he spent 2 mana to draw something that he already had that was already a useless card in his hand.
Very scary moment too, considering that Hyped, after losing this Voidwalker, will be 1 damage off killing his opponent.
And there's a lot of things.
Well, he's only got 3 mana to do it.
That's true. So no, there's actually not a lot of things. He could draw into like a Direwolf Alpha.
Direwolf Alpha.
It would have to be off the top because you
Power
couldn't tap
Overwhelming.
into it. Power Overwhelming as well. Even a Doomguard would win.
You're right, Doomguard would win. But it's not the Doomguard just yet. Now here's another big problem. Zalae doesn't have a Taunt Giver, so even if Hyped pushes in for damage here,
He can Molten Giant anti-Kill bot, but he has no way to
right.
prevent any more damage from coming in.
Still a tricky situation here for Hyped. In terms of navigating correctly, but Zalae is the one who ultimately has the big problem on his hands of just no AoE and no way for him to guarantee his safety, even if he drops these big minions.
He can put him at 1 and put a Leopardum on the field.
You could. You could just go all out.
Yeah, because then if you play a Molten Giant, even 2 free Molten Giants and a Defender of Argus, he's still dead. You have no room to...
Well, yeah.
The only play that would punish that would be double Molten Giant, Sunfree Protector, Earth the Ring Farseer. That's a very specific combination of cards that would be the only play with 5 mana
Right.
that you could do to counter this.
He was actually doing a mixture of it, just putting him at 2 instead of 1.
Okay.
And like you said, his only chance to survive is actually the Molten Giant and heal, right? Because the Molten Giant taunt actually still kills him because of the Leopard Dome.
Yeah.
So he heals up to 10 health, but there's
He's dead.
2, 5, 6, 10 damage, no matter what. Wow. Zeus still overcomes the handlock, despite having Molten Giant, the opening hand, and NT Killbot. That's going to wrap up game number 3 very quickly.
Wow. And it comes down to those little points of damage, because one more turn, and that could have been enough for
Oh, missed
Zalae to
BM.
maybe stabilize.
Should have killed the Drake. Well, there we go. Hype's up 2-1, and we go into the Blind Pig stage with him up. And I believe that officially means...
You can get a lot of value early on
What?
out of your creatures to be able to break through the handlock.
Hmm.
It's very dependent on whether or not you can answer the first couple threats.
Well, it's interesting because I think Rogue wants to be on the coin because they get the extra card.
Yeah.
You need every card you can to deal with as many threats. But I think Zalae would rather go first because you want to get your threat out as fast as you can.
So both players are unhappy.
Right. Or mutually happy, or mutually dissatisfied.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
a better way to put it.
Because at least the other person didn't get what they wanted. Because handlock going first, you get to drop the threat a little bit quicker. And then you get the turn 4. Not to mention that it's always like this awkward thing where like you have the coins, so sometimes turn 3 you don't do anything.
Yeah.
Oh, he has Sabotage.
And Sap.
Yeah, Sap does give him some stall time.
It doesn't necessarily have to be in your opening hand, though. Sap is usually like a tool for later on in the game for rogue decks to be able to push through. Eviscerate's okay as well. But he needs a body.
Do you attack with this weapon?
No.
I mean, what are you going to do on turn 3?
I guess so. And if you draw Deadly Poison and need to use it for any reason, you can always weapon up again. I think the damage just doesn't matter as much.
It's not really about that one damage, right?
Yeah.
In Miracle, it often is. In a Miracle, that's considered a misplay. You ask some Miracle specialists who are very, like, you know, hyped and RDU and like Tare and all them, they always value that one extra damage a lot of times.
Yeah. But this deck is more control-ish. So sometimes that one extra damage won't even come into play.
Yep. Well, you don't have a way to deal with this cleanly.
Sabotage is pretty clean.
Well, I mean, sorry, besides Sabotage.
Okay.
I meant like with eviscerates.
While
and stuff.
saving Sabotage for
Right,
like a
right.
bigger threat later on.
Because you want to avoid using Sabotage as best as you can.
We're always in the same exact position.
Well, he's got a mana more this time. And maybe he can fight a little bit cleaner, or a little bit better with Violet Teacher on board, but it still doesn't feel very good. Might need a cycle of Phantom Knives as well.
Yeah, I'd say so. Because he's thinking the only real options are to try and cycle with Phantom Knives, or to just play the Violet Teacher. But the Violet Teacher would just get eaten by Twilight Drake plus a Mortal Coil.
But it's 3 damage, so then an Eviscerate plus the Phantom Knives gets rid of it.
That's true.
This is where getting at the threat first is really powerful, because if Hyped had the ability to play Violet Teacher beforehand, then this would have been different.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a slap in the face for Hyped. The backstab coming in right now.
He would have had the perfect amount of damage to be able to take that out if backstab was already in his hand. Huh.
Well, this hand's not looking that impressive, so Zalae will tap, most likely. And it's okay, because he did give up his coin, but it ended up being perfectly fine out the Drake being drawn off the top. That second Drake is pretty devastating for Hyped and very good for Zalae.
Hype needs like a big swing card if another threat comes out, because right now he's it feels like he's stagnating a little bit because he hasn't thrown out, doesn't have a threat on the board. Zalae has initiative here. If something big was to come out there, or something relatively big.
Oh, interesting. So Zalae wants to vary up the threat levels and try and force Hype to spend a lot of his cards here. Unfortunately for Hyped, he's just got a simple sap, which can definitely disrupt that Ancient Watcher, so I think sapping that Ancient Watcher is okay. Oh! Actually, that makes a lot of sense, never mind. If you sap the Twilight Drake, then the Ancient Watcher gets challenged by the simple Violet Teacher.
Yeah.
First, I was a little bit confused.
And he's going to put out some more tokens on the board here, and make it so that if the Ancient Watcher does trade into the Violet Teacher, it will die.
Right. He gave up a little bit of his health, too, so that way he can get the 1/1 out.
Yeah.
And a smoother curve.
Yeah, and it might seem like the backstab is preemptive there, but you want to get as much mileage out of your Violet Teachers as possible. And he knows that there's a high likelihood that it's going to die this turn, so he wants to preemptively get that 1/1 out and bring that Ancient Watcher down to size.
He's going to try to pave the way for as clean Dr. Boom as possible, so scrubbing it at the floor as aggressively as he can.
I'm picturing him actually doing that.
Hyped? No, he's above that. He's a prince. He wouldn't be caught doing Cinderella's dirty work.
Prince Hyped. He's very prince-like.
It's the hair. Well, Zalae, the only way you can deal with this Violet Teacher is the Dark Bomb and give up your Ancient Watcher. Oh! Guess he's just going to play his Twilight Drake with that tap.
Okay.
So maybe he can win just through raw pressure. That's what he feels like at this stage. Can Hyped utilize this Fan of Knives, Eviscerate, or even the Azure Drake. That's 5 damage to the Drake. It'll have 4 health left. Yeah, you can take it out. It's too bad he doesn't have enough more mana to do everything here.
Yeah. I mean, he could draw into a prep with the Azure Drake. But that's, I mean, you're not relying on that, so it's not too risky to, like, try and go for something like that, but... Because if you Azure Drake and then Eviscerate, you're still able to deal with it.
It's too idealistic to just drop Dr. Boom. Because then he has Big Game Hunter and then, like, deals with a bunch of stuff that you have.
Yeah. But it might feel okay to just play Dr. Boom just because it fits the curve so nicely. Playing Dr. Boom on turn 7 is really clean.
The nice thing about Dr. Boom is you don't have to give up your Violet Teacher health. You can just use your weapon. Again, you're investing a lot of your health into the board state. So if it ever gets crushed once, Rogue's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, but you can't really... You can't not do that because you're just giving up so much. You have to make all of your stuff go further because the Warlock stuff is going to go further. Innately, just the Warlock stuff is going to go further than yours. So you have to use your health as a resource.
2 Molten Giants that can't get played and a Jiraxis. Like, Zalae sitting with 3 dead cards in his hand. Everything is also, like, everything else is very slow and defensive. There's not even a clean Shadow Flame play right now.
Yeah.
Unless you want to invest Dark Bomb and Shadow Flame, in which case you give initiative back. You finally give initiative to Rogue, which is what it's wanted. Not to mention, you're also going to be taking a lot of damage from the boom bots.
Maybe you're okay with that because you'll get closer to your Molten Giants.
I mean, you are and you aren't at the same time. It's just you don't want Rogue to take the initiative and then start threatening to go past, because what if the bots do 1 and 1 damage? Like, and then you're at 9. You can't even play Molten Giants next turn.
Yeah, I think you still have to go for it here.
Yikes. Effectively
Close.
the same thing.
Yeah.
So then this gives Hype the ability to drop the Drake. And eventually start pushing for an opportunity to maybe threaten lethal. You hesitate to think about the sprint, of course,
Yeah.
but you don't really need to.
And he might even think about cycling even more.
I definitely would like to weapon up here. Just because you have, you might need that mana next turn if you want to do something minion-wise. Because, like, now you can't, like, the weapon costs 2 mana and you might need to use it to try to push out something else. Plus, it combos really well with Violet Teacher and getting minions out.
Yeah.
Or even
Sure.
Fan of Knives plus Eviscerate.
I just think he's not too happy with his hand.
It definitely isn't a very appealing hand.
Yeah. And Fan of Knives, especially in this matchup, can feel so hard to weave in later on. Because you're not holding on to it for like a specific counter to anything. And yeah, it just feels, it feels
Whoa.
icky.
Prep Fan? See, hold on, how much damage does he have, actually? He's got 9, 12, 14 damage.
I think it might be.
Oh wait, he's got Blade Flurry, that's lethal.
That's lethal, wow!
Oh my goodness.
He saw it immediately.
That's crazy.
That's so much damage.
It's like you wasn't expecting it because of the spell power, but it actually allows him to reach, and Hype's going to move on to the finals off the back of his Rogue deck that won 4 games today.
Wow. Yeah, this
Rogue deck's undefeated.
and that's just the power of this Rogue deck, I think, and how strong it is against
That
Handlock
was
now.
very surprising.